Hey, everybody. Ian with racingcards.com. Doing these awesome community chats with fellow F1 card collectors and breakers. And the goal here is just to chat about cards and educate the community on Formula One card collecting. And I'm super happy to have Eric from Golden Polls on. Eric does some of the best breaks, on Instagram. So he's an awesome follow on Instagram, easy to find, Golden Polls. But more than that, participate in his breaks, and you too can pull some good stuff, with Eric's just awesome luck. With that being said, Eric, I'd love to ask you a kind of an intro question, and that is, what got you into Formula One and racing cards in general?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been really into cars. Like, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license when I was young. I actually took my driver's license on my birthday, so that was a big kind of risk there. And yeah, since then, I've just been really into cars. Went to track events, and my first introduction to F1 was actually when I was at a performance shop in the Bay here. I was just sitting in the lobby, and this was in 2004, and so Schumacher already had won 4 drivers champions by then, and I think it was so in the media, but it wasn't something that I watched at that point. And they had F1 in the shop, and I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. And I want, and from then I was like, okay, let me figure out how I can watch this, right? Because back then I think there was a huge there's a distribution problem of F1, right?
Yeah.
Recently, when Liberty Media took over F1, they done a really great job of being able to get it out there, getting more media, more content, YouTube, direct streaming, and of course the Netflix Drive to Survive series really helped get F1 out there. But back then it wasn't as accessible. So
yeah, it was definitely hard to find.
Right.
Now, how did you make, were you always into sports cards, in other sports, or was it your love of cars and this kind of newfound sport of F1 for you, that when you saw these cards come out, you were like, oh my gosh, I need to do this? How did you jump from F1 watching the sport to now the cards?
Yeah. When I was young, me and my brother, we used to just always whatever money we could save up, we'd always go buy packs of sports cards. And so, we go into our local card shops, or even to the flea market. They used to sell packs there. And so anything that we could save, we'd go and buy cards. And yeah, I mean, I would collect basketball cards back then. And yeah, that's pretty much.
What years were you collecting basketball cards?
Probably 92, 93.
Yeah.
Because
I was pretty similar. I was always collecting, baseball cards in the 80s, some football. Then I got into basketball in the 90s. And I remember when I was younger, I went to the card store, and my mom had to drive me because I didn't have my license back then. And I would always buy packs, and I would never get a hit. And she's like, you're crazy. She's like, why don't you just save up your money and buy the card that you actually want? So I saved up, I think it was $50. And I went to the card shop, and I was selecting between 2 cards. And one of them was a rookie, not much known about him, for the Lakers. And the other one was going to be Hall of Fame baseball player. I bought the Ozzie Smith rookie card. What I did not buy was the Atomic Refractor Kobe. Oh. And it was now looking back on it, it's oh my gosh, what did I do? Yeah. But card collecting in the 80s and 90s is nothing what it is today.
Completely different. Yeah. When I started collecting, I was actually a big Magic's fan, right? And so I started collecting O'Neal rookie cards. And we grew up in the Bay, and so my brother, he chose Chris Webber. First round draft pick, so much potential there.
Yeah.
And so 20 years later, 20, 30 years later, he's his cards are very little value, but totally. It's great. So that was lucky for me. But
it is interesting in those those early cards. Not a lot of value, especially in that junk wax era. But now going into F1, I mean, these 2020 vintage of like chrome and sapphire, like the value is just nuts. So when did you get into it? Like, were you early, and how early were you?
Yeah, so I started with my first case of sapphire in like May last year, and that was when there were actually like still cases of sapphire around, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like I like it, I really like F1. I like cars. Cards are something I've always had a passion for also, and so I held on to it for a bit, and there wasn't really, I think during that time there wasn't really much excitement yet for F1, and so I held on to it for a bit. I'm like, oh, these boxes aren't really going anywhere, and then my birthday came up, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna rip through it, and so I just ripped through the whole case myself.
You ripped through the whole case of sapphire?
Yeah. Originally, it was supposed to be an investment, and then like it became.
I get it.
My birthday, and I was like, well, all right, like let's just do it. Happy birthday.
What did you pull, if you can remember, out of the case? And then I think the follow-up question to that was, if you pulled something good, did you even know it was good in terms of value? Because in the summer, like prices were like even a quarter of where they're at today.
Yeah. So it wasn't a great case.
Yeah.
I pulled zero Hamilton bases. Like no Hamiltons at all. Like just Hamilton inserts. Like I was.
And in sapphire, there's 10 boxes in a case, not 12. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of surprising. And in the very last box, I did get a gold Max IV. So that was the best card in the case.
Do you still have that card?
Yes, I still have that card.
Oh, all right. Then that's a good hold. That was.
Yeah. I mean, it was always like, had I kept that case now, like cases are impossible to find now of sapphire, right? I think there's one on sale for like 30 or 40K, or I think it's like 40K now. I think
it's close to 40. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Like even like my first case of chrome I bought, I think was 9,000. And then I didn't want to sell a case, but I had it on eBay just sitting there. And a lot of people don't know it was actually my case because it's a different username, but it just sold for over 25,000 of chrome. And I was going to do a deal with somebody else, one of your fellow breakers. I was shocked when the thing sold for 25. But to be honest, like when I was shipping it out, I was like, man, that would have been a good hold. Because right now, even chrome's super hard to find.
Yeah, no, it is. I think because there was so much less supply of sapphire, chrome will get there soon.
Yeah, that's true.
Just like impossible to find a case. So did you ever find out what was in that case though? I always wonder, because like it's like, when you let go of something like that, you're always like, man, it's always like, do I rip it or do I sell it, right? And then if you do sell it, you're like, what was in there? What did I miss out on?
Well, it's like, so why don't we transition into breaks? Because I'm curious, you might have that feeling all the time, which is, I have this product, I just open up this like banger of a card for somebody, and like there's got to be this kind of emotional bit of it of like, you're super excited for the person that bought into the break, but part of you must be going like, oh man, that was also just sitting at my house.
Yeah, that definitely plays a huge part all the time.
So tell me about breaking. So if somebody's new into breaking, I think there's like how to find you, what is a break, kind of explain the format of a break if you can.
Yeah, so I mean, we just post up on Instagram all the time. So if you just follow us, Golden Pools, we will post like just a picture of the box, kind of to make it clear for people, like, okay, this is a break, right? Because otherwise, like we do like to post content of our hits, get people excited and things like that. And so the main ways for breaks, I guess there's always kind of like permutations of it, but at least the two ones that we focus on the most are just either random team or pick your team. And so, they both have their benefits. So, the pick your team format allows people to pick their like, favorite teams. So if you like Red Bull, right, or you like Max, right, then you want Red Bull, and you can collect, for your PC, right. And this way, it's nice because it's hard to get into like a box, right? Like you're paying like $2,000 for a box, but like, maybe you're an AlphaTauri fan, right? And then like, and that spot sells for like around $100. So you can see the whole box and collect all your favorite, your favorite driver. And so that's a lot more affordable. And the other format is random team, right? And for the random team is great because it gets everyone a chance at, the best teams, right? Because like in the pick your team format, like a lot of value comes from Mercedes, right? The Mercedes cards, Hamilton, of course, the most valuable driver. And so in a box, you're going to be paying around $900, right? Like almost half the cost of a box, right? To get that team. But that might be out of reach for some people. So random team is kind of like a nice equalizer. So it's like, everyone like, hey, let's jump in a box together and we'll all pool our money together and, let's let kind of a chance play here. And, maybe you'll get Mercedes, right? And that way you can get it at a more affordable price and everybody gets a chance at that spot.
So just to kind of play that back, there's a couple different, types of breaks that you're doing. Random, pick your team. Pick your team is, clearly valued on, the high spots being that of Mercedes and Red Bull, going all the way down, through to, your F2, that you have in there. And then there's the random that kind of gives that equalizer of a shot that somebody could get Mercedes. And it's not only that, like, Lewis Hamilton cards, in chrome or sapphire also have the highest value, but there's more of them too.
Right.
And so like, of the print of the 200 cards, there's quite a few Hamiltons and quite a few Verstappens in there, just with all the award winners, the drivers of the day, and the Grand Prix winners. I'm curious, as you've done a lot of these breaks, and you've seen this card collecting community grow and card values grow. What are some of the sleeper cards that you're seeing right now? Like if we don't have the 2022 season yet. If there was a driver or two that you would pick to say, yeah, I'd be a buyer for that driver, today, given where the card prices are at. What are a couple examples maybe you can give?
I think my favorite example would have to be Leclerc. I guess in the 2020 product specifically, because his teammate is Vettel, right? Yeah. Leclerc. So on for the Ferrari spot, you got the great prospect of Leclerc, and the teammate is a 4-time world champion, like one of the greatest drivers to drive in Formula One. So and I think it's kind of a steal what Vettel is going for. Whether or not his values were ever raised to his accolade, like I don't know, I can't say, but you can't imagine that it would go down from here. Like it's not like he can do worse. Like
he could retire and he's still a 4-time champ.
Right, exactly. And then Leclerc, he's the top driver. Oh, I mean, hard to say. But it seems like Ferrari is saying that he's the first driver, or maybe not really saying it, but I feel like that they are putting their efforts behind him. And Ferrari is one of the top 3 teams, right? They have one of the biggest budgets, legacy team. Like you can't. They're going to be the ones competing. Like they haven't been competitive recently, but they will. You wouldn't bet against Ferrari.
No, I agree with you. Also, like, Ferrari came on the second half of the season, some solid results with Sainz and Leclerc. And then all season long, they were saying we put a lot of energy into the new regulations, for next season. So, if that holds true, but I'm sure a lot of other teams did as well, maybe they can close that gap, and with these new regulations, maybe it's going to be on the drivers more. And Leclerc is, a lot of people forget this, but like a multiple Grand Prix winner, last season wasn't the greatest season, by him, but like the guy is an amazing driver. And to your point, buying into your breaks and pick your team, Ferrari is a hell of a deal if you got a 4-time world champ, and one of like the young guns here, him, Verstappen, Lando, Russell, that are always going to be here for like, who knows, maybe the next 10 years competing at the top of the grid. So,
right. I mean, we joined plenty of other people's breaks too, because we just, we love collecting.
Yeah.
And Ferrari is just one of my favorite spots because, like you said, like it's value plus good upside. And yeah, so
yeah, the ones that I'm buying into breaks, which might sound odd, is I'm buying F2. And the reason why is like I feel like it's a super compelling price point, but also like similar to like Hamilton and Verstappen having a lot of cards across the set. F2 has a crazy amount of cards in there. And then if you're looking at people that might have some upside, Schumacher is clearly one of them that people are collecting, but Sonoda had a decent end to the season. The guy's fast. Now, whether he gets controlled or not, who knows, right? He had a lot of crashes. But then, you have Zhao in there and, him coming on there and being from China and just the population and probably some new excitement in the sport. Like those are 3 solid cards in the F2 pool. So I think that's a hell of a buy sometimes to get into that.
Right. I mean, yeah, Leclerc, F2 is definitely tons of value. And this is outside of we don't even know what other drivers may get called up at some point too, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And you are just collecting so many of them.
And you can start to kind of hedge in this sport. I mean, I know in basketball you can a little bit with the NCAA, but like the thing with basketball is people get brought in so young, and so it's really hard to understand their talent coming into the league. You can pick a couple winners, but going beyond that's tough. Whereas F1, you can start to prospect pretty hard and say, how well are they doing in F3, F2? Who's going to have some seats open? Where's their affinity lie? Do they come with any money? Therefore, people were buying Zhao in like August thinking he was going to get a seat, and he got a seat. So if you know the sport, I feel like you could prospect. Hey, I'm curious. I'm going to rip open a box of Dynasty with you. Have you opened boxes of Dynasty?
Yeah.
You have a lot. Like I've seen it on your breaks. What's the best Dynasty pull that you've done on one of your breaks?
I think it was either a Lando, a single patch Lando, or we did pull like a single patch 1/1 Ocon.
Oh, that's sweet.
I'm not sure if the value would be higher though for that Ocon than the Lando. Yeah, I mean, even though it's a 1/1, I mean, it was a beautiful patch. I love the patch that was pulled.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dynasty is just rough.
It's super hard. There's a lot of like not great cards. Like I was explaining on one of these videos with somebody else that like I pulled a Cyril out of 10, and it's like Cyril's autograph isn't even look good. It's just a big circle. It's like, come on. But what about in Chrome or Sapphire? What's one of the biggest color cards that you've pulled for somebody?
Well, we pulled. Let's see. What did we pull recently? How about this? What won your contest? So maybe you can give a little bit of details on the contest you ran into the. Oh, right. Yeah. So during Christmas, we did a contest. Well, so like it was right around Thanksgiving. We ran a contest that we would add $100 into a jackpot, and the highest card that we pulled from then until Christmas, so like it'd be like a Christmas payout, would win the jackpot. So we went through like a crazy marathon ripping. We pulled a lot of cool stuff. But what ended up being the highest was a true gold Hamilton from Chrome. Yeah, and that was really cool. I really like the true gold.
The true gold of that card looks awesome.
I love it in Chrome too, actually. Like even more than Sapphire.
Yeah, it's a good looking card. The first box I ever ripped, which was just a loose box, and I've ripped, like I said, probably close to 5 cases worth of Chrome, had a gold Hamilton in it, my first box. And I was like, oh, this is easy. This is awesome. And then since then, like similar to you in your experience, like I've ripped open a full case and not gotten one auto out of a full case. And like the best card I pulled out of it was like a red Otmar. It was like a full case. So like this stuff's harder than then sometimes what you and others, post on Instagram or me of like
Right.
all these big
Yeah.
hits, like
I
it's hard
mean,
to find.
that's just social media though, because you see the highlights, right? It's like
True.
it's like, oh, just opened what I got like 2 boxes and I just opened them up. I decided to rip them and I got a Hamilton auto. You're like, what? Like,
Well, hey, why don't we do that? Let's see if we can create a social media moment. Maybe
right,
I'll get I think the
Yeah.
one-on-ones of all the Hamiltons are gone. Maybe there's one more of Verstappen. So who knows? Maybe there's some luck. I'm kind of due.
Yeah, and what people won't see is all the other videos that you ripped, a Haas or a Latifi
Totally.
or
Yeah, or Cyril, or yeah.
because this one will get shared, right? Because they're like, oh my god, he pulled the Max.
Yeah, I have a red 1/5 Hamilton Dynasty. That's a PSA 10, and that's like my big card in my collection.
Mhm.
I didn't pull it though. People are like, "Oh, you're so lucky to pull that." It's like, yeah, that'd be really hard to pull that card.
Yeah, my the best stuff I have is always just stuff I bought because it's so hard to pull things. Like it's
Hey, but there's people in your breaks that have gotten some big winners, in those breaks. So
for sure.
All right, let's see here. I'll start with the bottom. And
all right, let's see. Are we gonna get a triple?
Hang on. This was different. It's
different.
It's not a triple. It's a single patch.
Single. Yeah, I like that.
Single patch.
I see some letters.
We can usually tell by the hair. So let me go down a little bit here.
Is this 10? Is this out of 10? It looks like a silver border.
I think it's out of 10. Yeah.
All right.
Hang on. This hair's not showing through in the camera here.
I mean, I see a little bit. Is that?
Guess? No. All right. Let me just rip.
Is it Ocon?
Oh man.
Oh.
Oh. All right. So a out of 10. Antonio Giovinazzi single patch. So this will go with my collection of Cyril, of Magnussen, of Claire Williams Dynasty cards that I own. But a Antonio Giovinazzi single patch out of 10, number 7.
I like the patch.
Yeah, the patch looks, cool, but not the winner of the card, that we wanted, clearly. Hey, all right. So just to wrap up this interview, I'm curious, like what advice do you have for people that are getting into this? Like whether it's joining breaks, you talked about buying into Ferrari, but now you're going to have some competition buying into those Ferrari spots.
Please be some money.
In terms of sleepers, right now it's Vettel. Anybody else that you can maybe name going into this 2022 season that you think are some pretty good buys? Maybe not for jumping into a break, but just single cards getting.
Like the more you talk about it, though, the less they become a sleeper.
That's true. All right. Then and we don't want to hurt the top end of the market too. So why don't we just say this? What are your hopes on the 2021 product that'll be coming out, this month?
I just hope there's more collectors. Yeah. I mean, I think that, once we'll get some like retail packs, and the boxes will be more affordable, which will be great. Like we just want to get more people into it. And I think like the more people we get into it, the more fun it'll be, the more the market will grow. So I think it'll be, I can't wait for the 2021 product.
Yeah. Well said. I've been at a few shows, card shows, local in the Pacific Northwest, and a lot of other dealers will come over to my table and they'll be like, hey, the stuff is awesome. We know Formula One has just been exploding, but we don't know much about it. And we don't know how to get into it. Meaning they're still trying to discover the drivers, the value. And so I think to your point, which was well said, more product, perhaps, maybe lower price points, maybe with this next season of Drives to Survive, we're just going to see the popularity continue to increase, which hopefully means just more collectors within this community.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, hey, Eric, really appreciate your time. Like I said, for everybody that's watching this, Golden Pulse, you can find Eric on Instagram, ripping open boxes of Chrome and Sapphire. Get it while it lasts, because there's not much product left.
Yeah. 2020 is the year to collect.
Oh yeah, like this is the people are gonna like, oh, you're nuts, Ian, but like as it relates to F1, this is the 86 Fleer product for basketball. Like this is the product to get, to hold on to, and join those breaks right now with Eric if you can get a spot. It's well worth it. Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah.